Hey, welcome this evening. This is a check, sound check, test. Hello, hello. Hard Hat Brigade, come join us. Nice. Oh, give me a second here. Let me pull up Twitch on my phone so I can get a check for you.
I have to keep selecting audio device. There we go. All right. So I'm live. You're live. We're live with Hard Hat Brigade. Another stream leading up to DEF CON 28. Welcome. Hope you've joined us for our other discussions. We do have a number of other streams that are available. Probably going to have to put some on YouTube because after 14 days, these end up dropping off into the ether. Twitch only keeps them for 14 days because we're cheap and we don't have a pro account or anything like that. We're not Twitch affiliates by any stretch.
No.
Anyhow, if you're new, welcome. I'm Mr. Bill, or Secure This Now on Twitter, and I'm joined by Monkey Dragon.
Yo, and that's Monkey Dragon on Twitter as well.
And you can find both of us on Hard Hat Brigade on Twitter, or at Hard Hat Brigade, all one word. That account is one that we manage, and we use to coordinate Hard Hat Brigade activities. And again, if you're new, what is Hard Hat Brigade? Well, we're a bunch of hard hat enthusiasts who do fun and crazy projects involving hard hats. Yeah, it's like on cue. We both have our hats within reach.
Right.
And, silly electronics, maybe some bling. Just a fun thing to do, and basically create conversation, inspire others to build, make hacker tools, etc. Just another way to really enjoy things that we like to do, like soldering and wiring and prototyping, and then you throw in a little security aspect where we're doing maybe some wireless monitoring. We've got some folks who've done things with Bluetooth, software-defined radios, things like that, which is actually a great segue into tonight's topic, which is tech or technology. And so when we're talking about technology, we're talking about pretty much everything and anything that you can think of that you can put on a hat. Of course, it's going to be portable.
That's the goal, at least.
I don't know how strong are your neck muscles now, Monkey Dragon.
Oh, I've ridden motorcycles for a while, so they're fine. They could always be better, though. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. If you listen to any of our previous conversations, we've always talked about things like weight, etc. But I'm going to let Monkey Dragon kick it off with technology and things that the technology that he's looking at and has worked with, and maybe how we're going to integrate that into hats.
Yeah, sounds good. I'm first going to apologize. My dog is visiting me in the bedroom here where I'm broadcasting from, so the camera might move a little and you might hear some extra stuff tonight. So if she decides she wants to join in, I might put her on camera for a minute so y'all can say hi. But, what kind of stuff can we put on the hard hat? Obviously, quite a bit of stuff. This display is a little IPS multi-touch display. It's capacitive too, so real easy to interact with. One of the things I like about this screen is it has a built-in amplifier, which allowed me to drive the stereo speakers on this hard hat. Everything's interacting with a Pi 3, and we're running Kismet. Actually, it's a little bit out of date right now, but it's the current Kismet, so we've got a lot of availability to run a bunch of different types of tools, things like our SDR, or maybe this Panda wireless module here, run off USB. So tons of different options there. And that's just, one kind of thing. Trying to think about other things that we can do to make it interactive. Raspberry Pi, so maybe running Raspberry Pi camera modules. Although this might get a little heavy with the new high quality modules, so I might have to play with that to see what kind of things we can do with it. I will say on the camera note, make sure you get the right size cable depending upon which Pi you're running. I thought to myself, oh boy, I can run these cameras off my Pi Zero, and I didn't have any Pi Zero cables yet. So luckily they're easy to get, but keep that in mind if you're planning, depending upon where you're at when you're putting these things together.
So let's throttle back for a second. You covered a lot of territory there. I think maybe we should lead off with cameras.
Okay, cameras. So, all right, so right here, this is a first gen 5 megapixel camera available for Raspberry Pi Foundation. There are obviously a ton of different variations on this same thing. Version 2, I think, was 8 megapixel. Both of those are pretty easy to drive, and they're just going to use this standard ribbon cable here. As I just hinted at, depending upon which Pi you're running, let me see if I can get this to kind of focus a little bit better, you'll notice there are 2 different width cables. So you want to keep that in mind. And they come in tons of different lengths. For example, we've got this maybe, 10, 15 centimeter cable. I think I have a 30 centimeter cable somewhere around in the room, but tons of options there. So you have a lot of flexibility for where you're going to place the components on the hard hat, in comparison to where you might be locating the compute modules. So if you want to run something like the miner's loop setup, which we talked about previously, where your power pack is maybe in a pocket or a backpack, you may even consider running the Raspberry Pi if you've got more than one. We might think about like Wi-Fi Cactus or some of those other options out there. Planning out your cable runs is important. So that's one of the nice things. These are available in so many lengths, and being ribbon cables, they're really easy to kind of plan your path and allow for a lot of flexibility.
So as far as cameras go, when you talk about the width, I guess probably a good example is this is a Pi Zero camera. It's one of those, I believe it's a 2 megapixel, and it the Pi Zero actually has a very narrow connector for that, and then the regular Pi, I think, is a little bit fatter.
I have calipers up on the stand there, but just looking at it.
Well, I think
let me do it this way.
Probably just make sure that when you go to buy it, make sure it's compatible with whatever you're using.
So it doesn't really show up very well, but you can see the Pi Zero cable connector is significantly narrower. So yeah, just get the right one. In fact, this kit came with both standard Pi camera cables and Pi Zero cables. It was inexpensive, and I think it came with 5 or 6 different lengths for each of them.
So I have one of these USB 2 megapixel cameras, and it's actually got like a connector on the back. So I imagine I can do some custom cable work for it, but this is more of an industrial, solution, but I was able to change the lens. There's a lens kit. I can't remember what this mount is called though. And I think you told me,
I'm not sure.
Is it a C mount or?
Maybe. So new Raspberry Pi module. This is the HQ, the high quality model. This comes with a C mount, which has a CS mount adapter as well. And that's dependent upon how close the first lens element is in respect to the actual image sensor. So I think very similar in diameter and thread pitch as well. So I think a little bit bigger than that guy. But yeah, that size actually I think is very similar to, well, I don't have my 5-inch quadcopter on me, but a lot of the cameras you'll find for multi-rotor copters are, yes, just like that. So you can change the viewing angle of the camera. So if you want more of a wide angle or something a little narrow angle to give you a particular look and feel depending upon what you're looking for, lots of options, tons of options out there.
Yeah, I think this one had some, like, it has a fisheye. It's got a little bit more of a zoom option. And I want to say this bag of the lenses that go on it was pretty cheap too. I think it was like $14 for 3 different lenses, and it gave me some options when it came to the camera itself. Now, most people at DEF CON are a little bit camera shy, and so maybe not a good idea to put a camera on there unless it's doing something specific, like facial recognition. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it would be really cool if somebody had maybe a camera that wasn't so detailed that it was looking for people, but similar to self-driving cars, maybe, where you have a display that other people can see or really understand. You know, of course, I'm all about the educational aspect, right? And that's why I had Kismet running, and in the screen you can see it. With a camera, it's like, what is the capability of something so small? It can discriminate between a human or a door, or, you know, or it can pick faces out of a crowd of people. And, you know, obviously you wouldn't be recording any of that necessarily, but
right. And
privacy.
You know, you bring up the point with you know, like computer vision. Like I tried running OpenCV for a while on a Raspberry Pi 4 to do recognition of myself, just to test out. And even with my configuration that I had set up, I think I was only getting around 1 to 2 frames a second, if that, on the Pi 4. So you need a fair bit more compute on that. So once I had it moved over to a laptop, a little bit better. So that kind of changes the whole how you're going to mount things on the hard hat aspect. But really cool, because you can see the binding boxes around each of the objects that the system is recognized. I'm sure many of us have seen demonstrations of it, and that would be a really cool thing. And even just thinking about, like, okay, for example, back to the camera modules, you've got your standard you know, camera modules. Some of them come without IR filters on them, and what that can do is it can help kind of produce a different, you know, we're seeing different light now, so you might incorporate that so it doesn't seem like you're getting an exact replica of what we're seeing with our eyes. And so it adds another component to talking about, like, oh, why does this video output from your camera look very different? And that's where having a display on the hard hat's nice, so people can see what you're recording, or not even recording, sorry, what you're capturing with the camera module, and it becomes a great talking point on what you're trying to achieve with the project.
I just thought of something fun. You know how we talked about having a little display similar to that one entry at the last year's DEF CON competition? He had a little tiny LCD screen. Maybe what I really need on my hat is a tiny camera that just streams to that little screen, but it's like a backup camera, so I can see who's behind me.
I thought about that. I thought it'd be kind of cool. Another thing that can on that play is like having cameras front and back, and then displays front and back, so it's like you're seeing through the top of your head. Could be fun. And cameras are small, right?
Yeah.
Cameras are small. Cameras are small. That's, you know,
you flash that too fast. You got to hold that up for us.
So people watching on Twitter have probably seen some of the people planning for next year, and quadcopters are coming up, or maybe not quad, maybe a 3-rotor or a 6-rotor helicopter is coming up as an option. Now, we talked about this briefly I think a bit before we started doing these streams leading up to DEF CON, and the thought of doing an FPV style hard hat where the craft actually launches and maybe you attempt to land on your head is a thing. And so I tried to save money when I was doing my setup. So I'm actually running a fairly inexpensive box goggle. You can see there's actually just a single antenna, no diversity on here. And this will give me a live feedback, although I don't have anything running right now, but I get analog video back to this. So it's low resolution, at least on these older setups, which is one thing that's kind of nice, because when people see that, they kind of understand that we don't have the clarity coming from these analog FPV setups to where we'll be able to actually distinguish people in a crowd. Case in point, these things are this is maybe like a 500 TV line analog camera. So there's, you're going to see stuff, but you're not going to make out, like, I might not see Mr. Bill in the crowd unless I'm right on top of him.
I just thought of another fun use, maybe, or at least a talking point, if you will. If, they're deploying these cameras all over cities, and I think it would be nice to maybe build a hat that kind of speaks to that. And then, maybe I'm wearing a display around my neck that's streaming what I see. And then when people ask,
Right.
and we can talk about, hey, this is what it's like with being in public, and the fact that your city might be what do you call it, monitoring you. And
Right.
in the chat, it was mentioned object avoidance, like on a drone flight controller. I like that.
Right.
It's funny because one of our entries was that hard hat that kind of covered safety issues. Like if you had too much to drink at DEF CON, remember the LEDs would change colors, and then it would alert your friends if you already had too much to drink.
Right. Yeah. Just a bank angle sensor or whatever it might be. Yeah. Really cool. That one was fun. That was a really cool setup.
Yeah. So I could see object avoidance would be pretty tight. Wow. Now I'm wondering how I could pull this off. Well, see, this is the problem. Now the good idea fairy's coming through and sprinkling ideas, but we want to bring these ideas out to you folks.
Right.
I need to commit to what I've already committed to, and I think Monkey Dragon, you're probably in the same boat.
Right.
Unless you have anything else to add about cameras, I think that your goggles are a perfect segue into antennas.
Oh yeah, antennas. Yeah,
And
no,
Wi-Fi.
I'm trying to think. Camera.
Right.
Yeah, cameras. I mean, cameras are. There's a lot of them out there. I would say if you're going to go with one and you're relying on that video feed, test the delay. That's one of the things that, I mean, initially, obviously with the quadcopters, we've run analog on there for a long time because the latency was very low. So, think about that depending upon what your application is. I mean, and that's going to be true for everything. But if you're relying on it for visual information, like let's say like with a heads-up display, or if you're doing something where there's a camera that's letting you know what's going on around you, and you're completely your vision's completely covered, then you'll want to make sure that's up to snuff. So I think that's about cameras. Oh, and one last thing. Make sure you've got something kind of protruding maybe in front of the lens, so if you do happen to bump into something, the actual lens itself doesn't shatter. And if it does, spares are your friend. Yeah. Those are probably good tips.
So can you show us that antenna on your FPV goggles again?
Yeah. So here, I'll even take it off. So it's a RPSMA connector. It is. Let me go ahead and get back up here.
Is that 5.8 gig?
Yes, sir. We might even be able to read the darn thing. Can we?
So it's like an Omni, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
This is a DYS brand and it's 5.8 gigahertz. I think this is I think
Yep.
4 cloverleaf inside here, I believe. Yeah. So these work fairly well, inexpensive. Some of them are better than others.
Have not seen that on a hat yet. Hint, hint, folks.
Right. Hint, hint. Yeah.
Okay,
Obviously, we're all familiar with these kinds of antennas,
in chat,
right?
I think the technical term is quadrifilar helix.
Ooh, yes. There we go. Thank you, viewers.
Yes, thank you,
Got to keep us
viewers.
honest.
Yeah, so I've got the good old simple paddle antenna, and this Wi-Fi adapter came with one of those. Actually, this is the same Wi-Fi adapter here, and it just came with the cheesy white antenna. But I thought the black fit the motif a little bit better.
Oh yeah.
And if you're choosing Wi-Fi, I mean, there's a lot of options. I have my little bag of Wi-Fi tricks out right now, so forgive me if I just start going a little too crazy. This one's
Oh,
an
good. Yeah.
alpha. This antenna's not on here very good. So this is one of those alphas with dual antennas. And if you watched our stream last week, you probably saw, or 2 weeks ago, you saw JRWR has, I believe, 4 antennas because
Yeah.
like this is for a
3 or
dual
4,
band
yeah.
adapter. One is 2.4 gig, the other one is 5.8. Like I said, we've got the standard cheesy one, but you know, it's got the connector on it, so you can swap these out. SMA connectors, so that's something to look out for. I've got
Right.
the
Yeah, here's the Panda right here.
oh
I
yeah,
think this is
Panda wireless is
a
good.
dual band PAU09.
Another alpha. It's funny when you go to Amazon and you buy the alphas, you can get the big 19-inch. They come, some of them come with like a 19-inch high gain antenna, which is, I think, a little bit of overkill, but certainly ostentatious enough for a hard hat. If you can make it so that you're you know, it's not pulling your head one direction or the other, because I can imagine that does get a little hefty. But yeah, and Wi-Fi. Speaking of Wi-Fi adapters, you know, I've still got some old Wi-Fi adapters that are just USB keys. If you're going for stealth, or you can use one of these, which is like a panel, flat panel.
Yeah. Patch antennas are great. A little bit more direction focused versus omnidirectionals. Obviously, we've got those, I think, as a helicoid style where it's really directional. Yeah, there's a lot of different designs that can be used that, you know, and my understanding in the terminology is not as good as it needs to be. So please feel free to grill me so I can go learn about it. Hit us up on the chat there. We actually got a good comment on chat. Before I let you take over, it's a Wi-Fi field strength meter display on the hat. This is from Wyoham. Show how much oomph all the other hats are putting out. That's a great idea. Maybe you can do that next year and show us how it's done. We challenge you.
So yeah, we're challenging you folks. Speaking of USB adapters, they also come in different sizes. Some of them you can add your own external connectivity to. Often the circuit board will have the trace for the antenna that's built onto the circuit board, and then typically there's going to be like a 0 ohm resistor or even just another trace that goes to what would be essentially a pad for what's called a UFL connector, and I have a bag with some of these components over here somewhere. Of course, it's going to be the last bag I grab, isn't it? Yep, here we go. So
yeah, it's always the bag.
The cool thing about the UFL connectors, and they're really tiny, and if you have a Pi 3A, for example, there is a tiny little
that's not going to come in focus. There's one right there, actually.
Next to the Wi-Fi. Oh, you got a UFL connector on there?
Oh, wait, here we go. So maybe on this guy. So this is...
Oh, yeah.
actually a video transmitter module for multi-rotor copter, multi-channel little LCD. Well, yeah,
So
output there. These are pretty cool, inexpensive,
and
$15.
and they've got where did I order these from? DigiKey, or Mouser, one of those. They have a lot of antenna options, right? So this one is circuit board antenna. It just clips on to the UFL connector, where like the Raspberry Pi, you put it in a case, you put it under your helmet. Maybe you want your antenna to go outside of your helmet. Adding a UFL connector with a little bit of soldering is a good thing. And then here's another one. This is a dual band circuit board antenna, and it's just vertically arranged instead of horizontally. This one actually includes tape, adhesive on the back. You just zip it off and it'll stick to something. Very handy. And I look forward to doing some more of these projects where I'm adding external antennas to things like Pis, where they didn't come with an external antenna port or jack. So that's going to be fun.
Right. And those UFL ports can be a bit delicate. So be careful not to put too much pressure on them. And also, once you're going to get them set up, it's helpful to put a little dab of hot glue on there to keep them from backing out on you, especially if it's something that's actually running to a different location. And it'd be really, really rough if you deploy something and have it just pop out in the middle of transit and then have you go, oh boy, here we go. So
I
something to keep an eye on.
I think when we're talking about antennas in general, you're only limited by the frequencies you're working in and your capability or ability to make an antenna, which literally in a lot of cases an antenna can be as simple as a piece of wire. I've been I've been looking at a few designs specifically for Wi-Fi that are homemade. If you remember the Cantenna, that was very popular for a semi-directional, well, mostly directional antenna. And the Pringles can, not a good idea, but there's a baked bean can that works really well. And it's just
better.
It's just fun to experiment. And you get to eat a can of beans, I guess. So there's that. But excuse me. This is why I brought water.
Water is good.
So
there's the bug.
Unless you have anything else to talk about antennas or Wi-Fi, we do have a few more topics we got to get through in the next 30 minutes, and we actually made a schedule.
We're going to try to adhere to it, dang it.
Yeah, and now we're on our schedule. We have speakers or audio devices, and I don't have a lot of experience with the speakers or audio devices, but I want to let Monkey Dragon share what he's got for speakers, because they're pretty tight.
So this guy right here, as I hinted to earlier, the display has an amplifier built into it. So this has actually got stereo 8 ohm. I think these are 5-watt speakers. These are wave share. Geez, I'm having a brain fart. I think the display is wave share. The speakers are as well. They match pretty well. I think it's just a little 4-pin connector. Let's see if I can kind of turn this around so you can kind of get an idea of how it connects. Where the heck is it? Oh yeah, so it's this right here is how the speakers are connecting to. Straightforward, super simple. So this is probably a really straightforward kind of low-tech way about going about it, I suppose, or maybe it's high-tech and maybe it's more high-tech. It would be really cool to see somebody walking around with like a tube amplifier on their head, although voltages, so that's something to consider as well.
So if you go,
I don't have too many other things done.
Well, I was going to say, if you go to our Twitter, we've got previous entries on there. there was one in particular that used a Bluetooth. Um, it was a Bluetooth speaker that had LED lighting
Yeah,
on it. Um,
right.
it was pre-packaged like that, which that's fine. And they integrated it with their hat, and it was like a jukebox, which was kind of cool. Um, I think what I really liked about yours, though, Monkey Dragon, was your 3D printing and the mounting. Certainly
Oh
was
yeah, that was fun.
an experience. But they looked really good. They sounded really good. Um,
Oh, it was great. It
yeah.
was like having a soundtrack walking the floor because this.
Yeah.
So, we talked about it before. Weight and balance are important, especially if, in order to get the thing to sit stable on my head, I would have had to reef down really hard on the suspension, and so I didn't want to run around with a headache. So getting those things situated. So the speakers ended up sitting
Ooh.
actually back behind my head instead of up front next to the display like I had originally intended. So yeah, it was a happy accident because I had tunes jamming the whole time. It was great, and I didn't have to run them too loud, so it wasn't offensive to people that were around me, which is also kind of nice.
Okay, so if you check the chat on the stream, I think I
Hmm.
see one of my next purchases. Wyoham's using the speakers on with Hack RF. Those look
Oh, nice.
nice and small, but
Uh,
and cheap, which we like.
right?
It's funny. You try not to spend a lot on your hat,
Yeah.
but nickel and dime, as you will, is a very real thing. But I was thinking about adding sound to my Kismet because Kismet has an audio module that will basically, every time it comes across a new access point, it will say, "Hey, new AP detected," and it uses some voice technology. And I thought that might be fun. So I mean, yeah, it's you say it's only 2 watt,
Yeah.
but low power is the name of our game. That's primarily what we're dealing with anyhow. Because whenever you add big power, you always end up paying for it with weight and trying to avoid weight.
Right.
Um, but yeah, so next on our list we had Bling. I don't know. Should we talk about Bling before we talk about computers or computing?
We could do Bling at the end, actually. That was
Yeah,
just a brainstorm.
let's talk about computing. We already talked about a little bit about the if you're doing some sort of AI for facial recognition or collision avoidance or what have you. Kismet, of course, has been our mainstay. Both my hat and Monkey Dragons runs Kismet. I run the
Mhm.
legacy version on the Pi Zero. He's running the new version on was it a Pi 4
I
or
did a
3?
3 on that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so my experience has been, you're going to use as much computing as you can get, as you need, but also as much as you can get to do
Right.
what you need to do. And so that's where a lot of experimentation comes in. Um, and our last episode we talked about power management. And do you have your USB power meter handy?
Yeah.
So
So I've got it running. I'm actually charging my phone right now. We'll see if we can get this to kind of focus on this guy. So focus.
there we go.
So you can kind of see it's kind of hunting.
There we go.
Probably because the camera sees itself. Oh no, it's replicating. So this guy, inexpensive, right? And we're getting a lot of information on here. So I'm just charging my phone. I can see the voltage, the amperage. I can see how long it's been going. I can see the amount in milliamp hours actually that have moved through into the unit. So this can be very helpful. And obviously I can change the layout of what's showing up on here. There's even temperature on here. I'm not sure actually what is being measured. Oh, this is kind of a nice one. So we're getting voltages read it out on here as well. Oh, come on. So another view on there. And I think, you remember how much these things were? They're fairly inexpensive from what I recall.
I want to say it was like $15.
Right?
Yeah, I'll look on Amazon. In fact, if you search for USB digital tester on Amazon, I have the same one, and it comes with a little adapter so that you can plug into USB micro as well, and
Right.
and then
Type C, type A.
yeah. So the original device that I used was called the Port Pilot, which is just simple USB to simple USB. And a friend of mine gave this to me, and I think he paid like $50 for it. And it has a lot of the same information, but of course, when this came out, this was a couple years ago,
Right.
ahead of this, which, technology just keeps getting cheaper and cheaper. So, why are we worried about power? Well, if we're going to talk about computing, we've got some options, right? I mentioned the Pi Zero. The Pi Zero, of course, lower end processor, doesn't use as much power. In fact, there's if you go on the forums, there's people who have tuned theirs or disabled certain services to squeeze out more efficiency, or at least use less power. I'm turning my light up here a second. Oh, that's a little too bright. There we go.
There we go.
Now it doesn't really make a difference, does it? Because my camera's adjusting. Darn you, camera.
Yes.
And as we graduated up, this is a Pi 3A, which uses about the same power as a regular 3B, but because it only has one USB and just the single HDMI, it uses, and no Ethernet. It does use less power than a 3B. And it's actually kind of a nice little square package. So this is probably going into my next hat. And then you've got the Pi 4, which the 4 is pretty powerful. It's a power hog. It does require quite a bit to drive this. I don't know. Have you tested yours? Because I'm pretty sure mine was over.
Not yet. I know they suggested if you're going to drive any devices off of it, 3.5 amps, I think they said, was suggested, at least 3. In fact, I think some of the aftermarket chargers that are that you can trust through 5-volt for it. So, it likes power. It likes it a lot.
And so if you're, not just your computing platform is going to draw power, but everything that's attached to it, which, Monkey Dragon just alluded to, which is, when you're supporting USB 3 on the Pi 4, that can turn into a real power suck. Now, Arduino, there are plenty of projects out there that use Arduino, and this is an Arduino Sense. I picked this up at Hackaday SuperCon. I haven't done anything with it yet, but it's really small, and it's let's see, do they even give a power rating on here? Nope, they don't talk about how much power it uses. Just nominally, it'll take 4.5 to 21 volts input, and then it operates at 3.3 volts. Arduino is very, very lean typically. When there's a question in chat about, are we using mostly RC battery or USB power packs or RC batteries with DC to DC buck converters? If you watch the last episode, which is still available on Twitch, we did cover power. I personally use a buck converter with 18650 batteries for my hat. The miner's option or miner's lamp option that we talk about.
Right.
That's
big old battery pack. So
big battery pack.
Pretty good amount of runtime. Not too heavy. I wear cargo shorts almost all year round. I think they're attached. these guys usually aren't too much of a problem. But if weight's a concern, yeah, something like a couple of 18650s, and then that's going to be a little bit lighter. And comfort too with the miner's loop. You've got cables running down your back of your neck, or however you're running them. If you're running everything on the hard hat itself, taking it on and off becomes a little less of a chore or a little less of an exercise. It's a lot easier to manipulate and wear as well.
And running the cable down the back does give you additional options. You can definitely run a lot more power. The last week's episode, JRWR, who runs the Hat Chan on his pith helmet, he uses a lot of power because he's got a lot going on in his hat. And he was discussing, the future for him is going to include USB-C, which we know can put out some real power. It's up to you on what you want to use. I like compact, and I like squeezing efficiency out, so that's why I went with 18650s. They're pretty reliable and handy, and but I don't want to get too deep into that. You need to go back and watch last week's where we talked.
And then
about,
as far as RC batteries, be careful. Lithium polymers can be tricky.
It's our standard warning.
Yeah, you want to pay attention. Lipofires are serious, dangerous, and you don't want to get hurt. So if you're comfortable with them and you have the precautions, then probably not too bad, because those things will throw out a ton of juice. In fact, this little son of a gun runs 2S, or is this 1S or 2S? I think this is 1S, but I'm thinking I want to convert it to like a 2S or a 3S, just to get a little more stupid with it. So, and I'm meaning how many cells are on there, so the output voltage as well. So, we're looking at 3.7 nominal volts. So, yeah, it's more juice, more power, more spin, more fast.
Yeah, we don't want. I see somebody said entertaining. Wyoham. Entertaining is one way to describe a lipo on fire on somebody's head, but we're trying to avoid that.
Indeed.
Especially since
safety third.
Yeah, safety third. Especially when people put things inside their hat. I mean, mine's on the outside, and I actually the buck converter that's on there is not the original. I smoked the first one. That was a sad day. But
that first one was cool because it had your output voltage and a couple other things that would read out on there. So
it had a percentage and everything. It had a bunch of functionality with that little screen until Monkey Dragon noticed I was letting the magic smoke out. What were some of the other hats that we've seen computing wise? I've got on the list 8266, the ESP32.
Right. I would love to see something integrated with like maybe some of those single board computers that have like NVIDIA Tegra chipsets built into them that might help with the computer vision with the aided GPU compute on there. So I don't know what kind of power those things need. I'm sure they're probably running 12 volts or something like that. So, power becomes really becomes a serious component of it at that point. But depending upon what your needs are and what you're willing to carry, well, shoot, I'd love to see some crazy stuff.
More power comes more heat too. I was just visualizing a hat that you were talking about compute modules. Maybe on the hat there's like a couple rows of FPGAs or something, and in order to keep things cool you have to keep moving, so we would call it like the shark helmet.
Right. Oh, I'm waiting for the actual miner's hat where it's actually like mining coins. Not many of them. And then the goal is to try to mine as much as possible during DEF CON. I don't know.
Gosh.
There's somebody out there that'll do it, and it would be amazing.
That's what I was going to say. There's somebody out there who's crazy enough to do it. I mean, lights or LEDs can take up a lot of power. If you talk with JRWR, that's a big chunk of his power budget is to LEDs, and he uses like the 2812s in a string, changes multiple colors. So, you're just going to have to experiment. And that's what it's all
Hmm.
about, right?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. The experimenting, the learning, the trial and error. I think that those stories really come out when it's when we get to interact with people with them on, and so everybody gets an opportunity to really kind of gain from those perspectives and things, and that's really the fun part about it. That and wearing them, like it's cool. It's something that you don't often see, and so it's really neat to see somebody's idea come to life, take shape, and whatever the utility is, even if it's something just like, hey, I keep this my hard hat's meant to keep my head cool. There's fans on it, there's a water loop in there, and it's solar charged, and it actually just charges batteries, and then you hand out 18650s to people. Like, that'd be wild. Actually, that would be kind of cool. I don't know how much charging you do on the floors, but it's a canvas. It's ready to accept just about anything that we can dream of, and that's kind of cool. And the other thing too, it's a challenge because you only have so much space, you only have so much weight capacity, um, and that part of it's actually kind of cool too.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I mean, we had some awesome entries in our contest last year, and we're looking forward to seeing more. We're not running a contest this year because there's already enough going on, and what we're looking forward to next year, though, is maybe modifying things a little bit differently. I think we're
Hmm.
probably going to run a what's considered a traditional type of contest, but at the same time, um, I want to randomly reward people who are wearing their hat like during the con. Um,
Hmm.
there was only a few folks that I saw wearing their hat. You know, um, not to
Outside
say
of
that it was a
test,
bad
yeah.
thing, but what it does is it certainly makes that weight factor a thing. If you're going to be back to the 18650s, if you're going to be doing something with 18650s, like Monkey Dragon said, passing out 18650s, don't
Oh
buy
yeah.
don't buy 18650s that are called Ultra Fire or Surefire or Fire anything. This, yeah, yeah. These didn't catch on fire yet, but I actually just keep it for for show and tell as what not to buy. Quality batteries are going to get you a lot farther. In fact, the batteries that I ended up purchasing for my hat, um, based on Glitch Tech, that's
Hmm.
Glytchtech, yeah, on Twitter. If you've seen
Yeah.
his videos, he does Hack 5 videos as well. He told
Uh,
me which ones to get, and that it ended up being the Panasonics that I settled on because he had a couple options, and I got like
hmm.
30% more runtime than with the generic 18650s that I was using. Um,
Right.
so definitely power, but why do we need power? Well, in my case, I'm driving a screen. Monkey Dragon's driving a screen. I don't know how much my power budget went to the screen. Do you know how much yours was taken up?
I don't
I
know. I was running. It was running off of the Pi, so. Oh no, sorry, no. It was actually running off the battery pack. I had two cables coming up there. I will have to check and get back
yeah.
get back to us on a future video.
So
Yeah, we should spend more time on that, or I should look at that.
well,
The,
I do want to talk a little bit about screens because there's quite a few options out there, and I originally started with I believe it's a 5 inch um,
that
screen that
sounds
goes
about
on
right.
the top of the Pi, but
Yeah.
it ended up being not very big, and so I ended up going with the 7 inch LCD screen, and this one in particular has mounting holes and it is driven by HDMI, which it's also powered by HDMI. It is a touch screen, so there's a micro. There's a mic. Oh, and I had to borrow. I had to
Oh, I'm
borrow.
like, wow, that's a floating HDMI cable.
Yeah,
New
I had to
tech.
borrow a connector for other uses temporarily. But so pretend like this is connected. There's a micro USB connection here that basically interfaces with the Pi to provide the touchscreen capability, which I elected not to. I think you have
Right.
touchscreen on yours, right?
I do, yes. So we can see. Oh, yeah. So we can see the USB cable here to provide touch, and then below it is actually the ribbon cable styled HDMI cable, which can be really helpful. We touched on it a little bit last week and I think the week prior, but those can be nice. So,
How big is
you
your
don't have
screen?
to work. This one is a
Is that also a 7 inch?
4.3 inch. This is a 4.3, and it's capacitive, and it's got a little
Oh,
glass
that's bigger than
on there.
4.3.
I think this is a 4.3.
Well, no, you got to measure it diagonally like a TV.
Yeah. No, I think it's a 4.3 or 4.5 because I think I have a 5 inch on the other hat that's in pieces, and then I have a 7 inch on the floor somewhere upstairs.
Maybe
Yes.
I'm wrong about mine. Oh, yeah, mine's a 5 inch screen. I apologize. I think I started with a 3.5 inch then. Yeah, so
Yeah.
mine's a 5 inch. Lots of options out there. This actually was the most expensive part on my hat, which ended up being like $50 because it's industrial, blah, blah, blah. But the cool thing was all the power is coming over HDMI.
That is cool.
Yeah. And we talk about cabling and stuff in our last week episode as well. But I'll tell you
Right.
what the new hotness is. What's the new hotness? E-ink.
OLED. Oh wait, those are for phones.
Yeah, OLED hasn't quite made it down price wise, but
Yeah.
e-ink. If you've seen the Ponagochi, let me see if I can. Ponagochi is using the. Oh boy, that is just washed out, isn't it? Here, let me see if I can block some light here. Yeah. So this is actually not on. It's just the remnants of the e-ink, and that's what makes e-ink low power, is because it refreshes at a much slower rate, but it's very visible and it is super low power. I mean, like magnitudes of lower power. This is bolted to a Pi Zero. It's a little 2.13 inch wave share screen. So if you've used the Ponagochi, you've seen it. You don't have to use a screen for the Ponagochi, but it's such a neat little screen. And I saw somebody was just talking about using e-ink on a hard hat, and I can't remember who it was, but it's going to be awesome.
That'll be cool because that'll help with your power envelope. And then the other thing too is as you hinted earlier, they're a lot easier to read in bright sunlight, which we're gonna, we always have trouble on the LCD. The backlights are often not bright enough on these things. They're not pushing 400, 500, 600 nits of light. So yeah, that part will be really cool.
I can't wait to also see flexible screens.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that's going to be a game changer. Or, you don't necessarily have to have a display at all. You could just have lights.
Right.
JRWR's Pith Helmet Hatchan doesn't have a screen on it. You literally just connect to it over Wi-Fi, and that's how you access his hat. But he's got a boatload of LEDs, like I said. So you can do anything you want with LEDs. Like I got these 2812s that are already that are kind of they're packaged on their own silicon, and all you have to do is solder the connections on the back. You daisy chain them however you want, and it's pretty straightforward. It's just like having one of these strings only instead of, cutting and then trying to arrange these, um,
Hmm.
these are much smaller. They're a little
A lot more
bit,
flexibility. Yeah.
a lot more flexibility in placement for sure.
Hmm.
But that's something that I'm looking at. You can arrange those in an LED matrix. I'm trying to remember. Did anybody do an LED matrix?
I don't know if somebody did one with the idea of actually doing more than just like having the lights change, but I have seen them on a couple of other hats. Like I think somebody had a top hat that had some
Yes,
cool stuff going
that's
on with it that had messages.
that's Mike Sizix. I can't remember how to
Hmm.
say his last name. Apologies if you're out there listening or watching. Um, he's the Hackaday editor. He has the top hat. That's actually one of the reasons why I was like, oh man, I need to put some LEDs on my hat. But then I got distracted with wireless. But yeah, most definitely. All right, let me check my agenda here to make sure we covered all the technology. We talked about cameras, antennas, speakers. Oh, bling. Speaking of LEDs,
Right.
what's bling? It's almost always LEDs of some sort.
Right.
On my hat, I literally only have the 4 LEDs on the top. I need to dim this light. This is annoying. So
That's when Mr. Bill goes after hours.
yeah, I don't know if you guys can
Or
see.
maybe that's
Oh, there
on
we
the.
go. That's a little bit better.
There we go. Yeah.
Um, that's it's actually got a switch on the side. It's called party mode, and they're just fast switching LEDs. I didn't do anything fancy with this because they were kind of a last minute addition. And if you've seen the inside of my hat, it's literally a coin cell, a switch, um, the switch right here, and then just the wiring with a resistor to the LEDs. And I haven't changed this
Hmm.
battery in 3 years, so it's been going strong. Um, but I didn't budget power. I ran a separate circuit, so there's lots of ways that you can add um, bling to your hat. And again, you need to go back to the Hard Hat Brigade Twitter and just click on media because we posted the pictures of all the entries. And one of the categories was bling, and the other one was wares, which was like hacker functionality. And boy, did man, they brought it. I
Oh, yeah.
mean,
Oh,
my
yeah. Everybody.
my hat looks like junk. After seeing those entries, I was just blown away. Which is why I need to up my game. I have a whole year now to plan, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, you're to plan in a week to execute. No, that's not how we want to do it.
Oh no 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 no. Actually, I didn't add those LEDs until I was already at DEF CON, and it's
Yeah.
because those and not XOR guys who make the Bender badge, like they're all about the bling, and they
Oh, yeah.
challenged me,
Well,
so I had to do something. I mean,
yeah. It's good fun. I remember 2 years ago, I think I was still putting my hat together. In fact, I think it was Saturday that I finally got it running. It's like, oh my God, like this is so crappy, but it works. It's functional enough to use.
yeah,
So, don't feel intimidated by it. We're here to help. Always reach out. This is to have fun, to learn, to hopefully inspire. Whether it's through one of our hats or one of last year's contestants' hats. I would love to see this grow and just it'd be really cool. I think there's a lot of opportunity to continue to learn through this medium. So it's super fun.
yeah, and like Monkey Dragon said, if you get stuck or you have ideas or you want to know how to execute something, um, use us as a sounding board. We're sworn to secrecy. In fact, we still have a couple hats that were in the contest that we've never released their pictures because they asked us not to, and we aren't giving away all the secrets. But we can definitely get you in the right direction, and we know other folks who are capable of literally whatever you think you want to do with your hat. We probably know somebody who works in that realm and can
Oh yeah,
assist.
for
And
sure.
you know, hit us up on Twitter, DM us individually or through Hard Hat Brigade. Um, Tune into our Twitch streams. Oh, wait, this is actually our last one, isn't it? Because isn't next week in DEF CON? It is.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you for joining us for Road to DEF CON.
Yeah, this was this was designed to be the road to DEF CON. So actually, we probably will go silent for a little bit.
Right. I guess it turned out being more of a parking lot to DEF CON with the current world order. But
Yeah,
it was cool. It kind of lit a fire under our pants and got it going. So it's been nice. I, now we have some planning to do for future episodes, I would think.
and honestly, if you did build something, look at the homebrew hardware contest.
Yes.
So we retweet homebrew hardware stuff. They were awesome last year. Gave us time on stage. That because they had it, they were a dedicated official contest, and we're an unofficial contest. And
Mhm.
they've just been awesome, reaching out, and we want to support them too. So if you have projects that are not on a well, it can be on a hard hat. It doesn't have to be on a hard hat, but homebrew hardware definitely jump in there because they are running a contest this year. I don't know 100% like how your entries go or anything, but I know
Yeah, unfortunately.
they are taking entries right now.
Yeah, it should be cool. I'm looking forward to seeing everything going on with that contest. That should be really cool.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I don't have anything else. Do you, Monkey Dragon?
I don't think so. Other than bling doesn't have to just be lights, Uh, I'm looking at last year's hard hat. I don't remember who put them on there, but I got googly eyes, and it makes me think about Cannibal. So
Yeah.
bling is what it is. It's the thing that makes you go, oh yeah, At least that's what I think. It's kind of cool. It catches my eye. So
Yeah.
um,
If anybody
yeah.
wants copper tape, I have copper tape that's adhesive on one side, and it's literally copper, and it conducts electricity. I was going to wire everything on my hat or connect everything on my hat by connecting it with copper tape because copper on the white background just looked awesome.
Oh, it would look so rad.
Yeah. I mean, if you're more artistic than me and you can use it, let me know. Drop me an address and I'll mail you a bunch because I don't have a use for it. And but it looked really good. I have a little test strip on my hat, and it looked really good until it started to rust.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I would say hit that with some. Oh crap! What's the I can't think
CLR.
of it right now. Yeah, so hit it with something that's because obviously you want to keep the sheen, so you're going to want to cover it up. You want to keep it from oxidizing.
Yeah.
Plus, you also want to keep it from accidentally shocking yourself when you're reaching up there, even if it's just to move the hat around. So, yeah, conformal coating. There we go. That's what I was
Conformal
thinking of.
coating. Yeah.
That'd be good.
Definitely
So,
put a clear coat on it if you're going to use it.
yeah.
But you're right. I mean, bling can be anything, and if you go back and you look at those pictures, you'll see fiber optic cabling was
Mm-hmm.
laid apart in a couple of the hats. Paper, like heavy stock
Ooh,
paper.
who's going to be the first to do chameleon paint job? Come on.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, that'd be so rad. Oh my gosh.
I mean, paint gives you some options, but painting a hard hat is a pain in the ass.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can pull it off, there was one that was pulled off extremely well.
Yes.
Yeah, when I saw paint on it, I was like, I don't know what kind of black magic you used, but you know,
It was exquisite. Like, yeah, fit and finish on that hard hat. The entirety was really top level. That one was really nice.
Oh, so Wyoham mentioned something about fractal antennas for Wi-Fi, and that's actually one of the things that I was looking at because there is oh, what's the Twitter handle?
Been visited by Puppy.
I'm drawing a blank on. I want to say Kit Fox, but that's not right. There's somebody that does PCB printed antennas, um, but that gave me an idea for multiple antennas, not just for Wi-Fi, but also for SDR. That would be pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I think JRWR was talking about a shitty add-on, putting shitty add-on mounts around his hat. So if you're into badge life, that's another avenue. But
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
now
for
you
sure.
reminded me of that. But all right, well,
Options.
we've already gone into OT, which is fine. I mean, we're not on a hard schedule. The fact that we have an agenda is our next level.
Yeah, yeah. We actually we got through.
Yeah, but anyhow, have a great time at DEF CON this year for well as best as you can. Look local, connect with your
Hmm.
local DEF CON group. Um, I mean, they might be doing stuff. We're doing stuff in DC 858 619. Trying to keep people engaged, and then also, you know, continue on or bringing in new people and building relationships so that when we do get to DEF CON, um, physically, it's not so overwhelming, and you've got other people that you can um, certainly get in touch with if you need assistance, etc. It just makes the experience a lot better, and I feel like
Yeah.
there's a lot of local DEF CON groups that kind of ebb and flow, but all it really takes is just showing up once a month for a couple hours to not even for a couple hours, maybe an hour and a half, just to say hi to some folks, and then join their Slack or Discord or whatever, and the
Absolutely.
just building that community. And if this DEF CON's proved anything, your local community is very important, because there's just this DEF CON is not going to be the same as all the other ones. Certainly
Yeah.
not optimum, but we'll do what we can.
Right.
So
It's a new frontier. I think it's still going to be amazing. It's obviously not the format we had expected, but yeah, I need to get plugged in a little bit more. I admit I've been a bit lax, but yeah, now's the time.
I mean, I guess my only disappointment is the looks that I get when I go to my local grocery store now with my hard hat on, because this is the time of year when I wear it. So
Hmm.
I haven't been arrested yet
Yeah, no, not yet. Not
for
yet.
wearing my hard hat. But Wyoham says thanks. We're glad you enjoyed it, and all you other folks out there who didn't comment in chat but were lurking. That's cool too. We hope you got some good ideas, and we're looking forward to hearing and seeing them in the coming year. So subscribe to our channel or follow it or whatever. I don't know when our next stream is going to be. But if you have ideas that you want to share, you want to show your progress of your hat, we're always looking for that, because I mean, the ideas that Monkey Dragon and I have are limited to what our experience and knowledge is, and we need other folks to bring to the table what they have to offer, and hopefully inspire others to do similar things, or put a twist on a new idea. So be
Absolutely.
safe,
Yeah.
be safe, and we'll catch you next time.
Yeah. Have a great night.
All right.